Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Trading Card Lobby. My name is Patrick. I'm just not a host again, so like in the first episode, I will give it over to Dan, and he will do in the beginning of the podcast. I'm just only that guy who still just starts every time with the first sentence, and I'm very happy that we have this great guest today. But Dan, I give it over to you, and you can make the introduction for everyone.
All right. Hi again. If you're tuning in for the second episode, if this is your first time, hi anyway. We're glad to have you. And we have a great panel of people here to talk about traveling for TCG events. And I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves with a short introduction of what's your relationship with TCGs and how do you travel for them. Let's start with our Affinity for Commander friends over here, since it's your first time on the podcast. Let's hear it.
Oh, very much. So, how do we prepare? Well, sorry, how do you prepare?
Well, first of all, this is Alex and I'm Martin.
Hello.
So as Alex hinted at there, I do all the preparations for everything. He just nods politely and comes along with what we do. So in terms of traveling, we travel around the UK for events, but we've not been outside of the UK yet. So hopefully we can bring a local kind of view to it.
But yeah, like you get everything sorted with like military precision.
Oh yeah, I need to have lists and order to what I do, and then that's how we go about it.
Nice. So that's a great baseline for the tips and tricks section that we're gonna get into later. Let's continue with our round of introductions with our returning guest Ryan from Magic Arcanum. Glad to have you back.
Thanks for having me. As the sole representative of the United States of America, we do things a little differently over here. You know, there's no distance that is too great. We'll fly, we'll drive, we'll ride horses, whatever it takes to get to those events and see the sights in person. I've been to several. I've been to Las Vegas. I've been out to California, Florida. These places probably don't mean anything to you guys, but they're very far away from me in New York. And it's always a great treat to be out there meeting new people and seeing your familiar friends and family and doing it with some of the best people who are part of your play group. And it's just a really cool part of the whole trading card game culture. And I'm really excited to be here talking about it with you all today.
Nice. Next up, Kai.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Kai Savatari, aka Savatarix. I spent the last 10 years in Tokyo, Japan, and went to several Magic events. Mostly in Tokyo and the Kyoto area, I want to say, but recently I moved back to Europe. I'm now in Berlin, and I've been attending a lot of events within Europe. Basically, I just came back from a gigantic event from in Bologna, Italy. It was called the Four Seasons, and it's really nice to be in Europe, I want to say, because there are so many events happening here. I haven't been to the UK in a while, I gotta say. I think like the last time I went to the UK was probably like 6 years or like 7 years ago. It was in Birmingham. But yeah, I guess we're gonna talk about that in a second.
Yes, I'm not representative of the UK, which trust us.
But yeah.
All right, Patrick.
Yeah, so for me, TCG is what I said in the last episode, a very long ongoing story, and I'm traveling my first time, I think, back in 2003. There's a great story I will share later, but it has something to do with sleeping overnight in a McDonald's restaurant in Cologne. And at that time we don't have much money, and you picking up the cheapest train at the saddest time and arriving 5 minutes before registration closed. So that was a fun time, and I'm very happy to share with that. Also traveling worldwide about events, I think I'm super happy about the second topic. And that brings me to that guy who maybe travels the most in this round, because he is judging all over the world, and that's up to you, Dan.
Yes, I've been. So my first, I want to say, big international event was Grand Prix Vienna in 2013. For those who want to get a frame of reference for that, my standard deck, which I played at the GP, contained the card Sphinx's Revelation. So just dating myself there. Then my first big event as a judge was a Grand Prix in Birmingham in 2017. And ever since I've enjoyed traveling internationally for judging Magic, and I don't think I've been to a big event as a player in a long time. And my most recent event was MagicCon Chicago, where I got this this nice shirt because they're actually really comfy, and I like to wear them in my free time. So yeah, I think I've been to all of the Magic Cons except one, and to most of the European regional championships. So yeah, I'm traveling a lot for Magic.
I would say, so I think everybody would agree that traveling for events, it doesn't matter if it's just far away, flying all over the world, or just to go into your next bigger town or city. There's something magical about it, I think, because I made the most of my friends over TCG events. So there was a lot of people where I met first time on TCG event, just ongoing friendships for now over 20 years, part-wise, and sharing stories from that time, if we're sitting together again and meeting people. So I think I would say there's no event where I don't met someone or just saw again someone who I didn't see for quite a long time, and it was every time like, yeah, it's like if classmates just reunited. So and every time, and I think that is something that is very special for me. And it doesn't matter how many years have passed by. So and that brings me directly to the first question. What was, and I would give it directly to you, Ryan. What was a very magical moment or just an experience from an event that you had in the past? We would say, hey, this is maybe one of the most memorable events for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd love to start it right there. So I went last spring, to the Magic Con in Philadelphia. That was close enough that I could drive to it. It took about 6 or 7 hours to get there, but I remember entering that convention hall. It's a beautiful venue, and I'm walking through these crowds with my friends with me. I have my brother and Nicole, who works on Magic Arcanum with me, and I'm just in this sea of people, and I'm recognizing cosplayers and artists and all these people who I know just by reputation, right? Because I've seen them online, I've seen their work, I've seen them, seen their cards that they've drawn or done the art for. But now I'm standing right there next to them, and I walk up to one of the cosplayers, and I go, "Hey, just want to let you know I'm a huge fan of yours. Really love your Elspeth." It was Talia Vess, if anyone knows her. And she goes, "Oh my God, you're Ryan Gomez from Magic Arcanum. I learned about the character from you and your videos. You inspire me to put on this costume." And we both stood there and had like a moment where we're like, that's crazy that we can live far apart and know each other through YouTube or through Twitter or X or whatever, and be motivated by what each other does, and then we show up at the same place and we just run smack into each other, and it was this great exchange of passion and excitement, and a new friendship was forged, and now we trade in. Every time I'm working on a new script, I'm like, "Hey, Talia, here's a character you're gonna love," and we have all sorts of great stuff came out of just showing up and walking around and seeing who was there. And that is something that can only happen at these types of events. So that will stay with me for a really long time.
Really nice.
Great
Love
story.
that story. Yeah. The
Almost
mutual
similar to
inspiration part is so good.
Yeah.
whenever you go to a con and you meet people, you know that really awkward moment where someone come up to you and start talking to you massive, like you've known them for ages, and then you say, "I have no idea who you are," and then they give you their username or their internet name, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's you!"
It's you, right.
That happens also to me very often when I'm just so in the past. I was also very often as a vendor on an event. So we were selling cards, buying cards, and working together with Kai's ex-boss as well. So there was also the connecting point where I met Kai first time in Tokyo, and that time he originally was from Germany, and yeah. At that point there, after a few years coming back to bigger events, and then came some smaller vendors, just smaller vendors to me, or just also people who said, "Hey, I bought cards from you 5 years ago," and I said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. What card was it? Yeah, that forest." Sorry, I don't remember you. Just kidding. I don't know you. Bye. I said, what the fuck?
Love it.
Yeah, great experience. But what was that brings me to you two guys, Martin and Alex. What was your most memorable event or experience or situation on the event? You would say, hey, this was something very unique.
Into yours first.
Yeah, so one of our first events after being content creators, I think it was in Liverpool, which that's a short distance for us. That's like a half an hour train
Yeah.
journey for us. That's the closest event you can get to. And we went there, and it was the niceness, I guess, and like the accept all the content creators. We just all grouped together, had a wonderful time. We had big games of Commander. We went out for a meal, and we've continued that, as you said, with your experiences. Just every year we meet up, we have food together, we chill out together, and it's just cool having so many people from different backgrounds and different locations all having one interest that binds us together.
Was that the game with PK?
Yeah, we had a game with Pleasant Kenobi, Olivia, who's on the Commander Advisory Committee. Wedge, there's a load of people there, and it was just a really surreal experience. Going, I watched you online, and now you're in front of me playing cards with me. It's a very cool experience.
It's also probably the only 6-player pod I will ever play in, ever.
Yeah, it went on for quite a while.
Yes.
How long?
The biggest
How long
thing
was
for
the
me
game?
Oh god!
It went so. I think it only ended because someone had to leave for an event, but it
Yeah.
went on for over an hour and a half.
I think it ended with with PK just going, you know what, Worldly Tutor, Crater Huff, we need to go, people. And we all went, yep, I've got a counter spell, but I'm not casting it. We all need to go. Important for me is when we went to, weirdly enough, Birmingham, and everything happens in Birmingham. And we went there, we sat on this random Commander pod, and there was a woman who sat across from me, and she looked like she'd been taken straight out of 1969 Woodstock. She looked amazing. And she sat down, sweetest person ever. And she pulls out a mono red burn deck and like turn 2's like Return of Avernus or the Return to Avernus or Descent of Avernus. Descent of Avernus. I'm like, wow. She was just the most aggressive, angry player in the world, but she was the sweetest person. I was like, I wouldn't get this if I just stayed in my little corner of the world. It's the traveling that makes you get to see new people and new and interesting decks.
Yeah.
It's like the comic relief that you
Still
have
lost that
often
game.
in. It's just like a comic relief that you often have in that cartoons or in the TV shows where a cute little girl coming over and is the most aggressive one and with the big halberdier or the big axe.
Completely
Is that I will smash this place.
Yeah.
She clearly needed some outlet for her aggression. She wasn't getting it anywhere else.
That's pretty cool. So you guys basically travel mostly for Commander. Is that right?
Yeah, we don't really play any other formats anymore.
No. We occasionally have a look into what's happening in Modern, see the Screaming Inferno, and then just shut the door and go, no, we're okay.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah,
it's more, it's
I
the
guess
social aspect of the 4-player side where you can talk to people. It's not just who's the best player, it's who can make the best decisions.
No matter how good you are at talking, in a one-on-one game, you can't convince someone not to kill you.
I mean, yeah, you better be super good at talking then. But you know, that's really interesting. Because like I've seen all these Commander players at literally every single event, right? Like even if there's not a command zone or like a specified place, there are always people just grouping together, getting like 4 players for a game or two. But one thing that I've probably like yet to understand is like, why do people like to play Commander in a place where it's like way like where it's super noisy, you know, in comparison to, let's say, like a cozy session at home, for example. Like I definitely get the excitement because it's a lot of people around, but like is it like more fun to play at a MagicCon just because there are like so many Commander potential, you know, players for future sessions, or is it do you mostly go there to I don't know, like get in contact with more people, or just to have some good games, or both, or how does it work?
Well, it's all of it. Like keeping with the random Woodstock woman, like I would never have met her or seen that type of deck before. Like I think people get very insular with like the play group they have, and they'll start making decks just for their play group, and their deck will be tuned to what's going on currently, which like we're having now. Like our local meta is very much warping in a certain direction, so my decks are like that. But when we go to Birmingham or Command Fest or anything like that, it's a completely different thing, and you will see different things and meet different people. Which also, it's it's nice to network, it's nice to meet people and see new people. But yeah, seeing the complete variety of stuff you will never see, even like as content creators, like even people like Mechanic, for example, who literally has Scryfall just in his head all the time, tells me that he sees random and new cards that he never sees before, which is always nice and exciting.
That's it. I think there's a lot more variety if you're playing modern, standard, anything like that. It's you're playing to win. You're playing the best deck you can. Whereas Command, you can sit down and say, "Are we playing high power? Are we playing a bit of silly fun? Are we playing everyone plays goats instead?" Like there's so much you can do with it to incorporate everyone. And there's a point where you can get a pod of any players together and have a good time.
Yeah, because it's definitely that social aspect of it, isn't it? Like not that the other one-to-one formats don't have a social aspect to them, but it's gone to a different level in Commander, because 50% of the game interactions is you talking to the person, making deals, politicking. I'll kill his commander, don't attack me, bro. Like that doesn't happen in any other format.
Have you also had the experience where you basically where you sit down at this convention, and you just met up with, like, let's say, like 2 more players, right? And it's basically like the 4 of you guys for a new game, but you've only talked to the other guys maybe, let's say, for like a minute or 2 before the game, and then and then like 5-10 minutes after the first couple of turns, you get a feeling of like, yeah, maybe this is not the perfect these, like, those are nice guys, but maybe like the chemistry is not the same, or maybe like they said the power level of the decks is like a 6, but they're playing like creative mana crypts and whatnot. Has that happened to you guys already?
It does happen, but we tend to have the discussion beforehand of what's the goal of this game. Are we playing to knock each other out, or are we playing to have a good time? And I think you get a better time out of it and a longer time of it if people are honest about what they're doing. If they're not, and like you say, they just want to play to win and you're not, the game won't last very long, and you can just move on to the next people.
I would say too, like one I would say and we've been, I'd say, very, very lucky. Like I've never sat down with people at Command Fest or wherever we've gone to any event and had a genuine issue where I've sat down and went, oh, this person just played a Mana Crypt and a Rhystic on turn 1, and we all said this was cash. I'm playing Hobbits. I've never thankfully had that, but I have, like, a friend of ours sat next to me playing a different pod where he was just playing the 6-mana Neheb. It's a very casual deck. It just tries to burn you out. It's very silly, but killing Neheb, nothing happens. And other players got incredibly salty about it, and it created a bit of an uncomfortable dynamic. But that only very rarely happens. I'll say that's very much in the minority, considering how much Commander we play, which is a lot. I've never had that, thankfully. So I think because of how much of a social thing Commander is, I think everyone gets that idea, which brings on to the second thing, that we don't sit down and go, what's the power level? I.e., give me a number.
It's what's the goal?
Yeah, it's what's the goal. Are we here for a good time, a long time, a slow time? I'll play stacks. I'll play control. Maybe not those things for a good time, but it just is knowing how to have a proper conversation with people rather than just everyone differently interpreting what a 7 is.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I guess like these numbers are also a little, like, it's a little wonky, right? Like I think everyone has like a different understanding of what the 7 is, because I feel like I think at this point, like, I think every single Commander deck is by default a 7.
Hopefully the 7, yeah.
Yeah, like that's what everyone says, right? And then like some people play Mana Crypt and into turn 1 Rhystic Study, as you just said.
Last time we played, Kai, Commander, you had Fate as your commander. So that was
Yeah.
not a 7. That was
So, yeah,
but
like-
I have to say, it was one of the most fun Commander games I ever had. This was absolutely
See.
great.
See, like, yeah, like, so I'm coming more from the 1 versus 1 competitive, you know, mindset. And like most events I've attended so far were like constructed events, right? Like Legacy, Modern, stuff like that, where it's like high stakes and you try to win, etc., etc. And I've never been to a Commander event so far, but I've been enjoying Commander a lot since like 2023, like last year. And I tend to build good, strong decks with terrible commanders is basically what I'm trying to achieve. Like Feichi Untouchable is like one of the example where, you know, she's literally uncastable. Like you kill yourself, right? So there's like a little bit of like hoops you have to, you know, go through. But you know, like Platinum Angel and I don't know, like some other cards that make you not lose the game are kind of needed. But I definitely also like to play those powerful cards like Demonic Tutor and Mana Crypt and, you know, Soul Ring. Like they're definitely in my deck. So my decks are all like 8s is what I've been told, but my commanders are like really shitty. So maybe we can talk it down to like 7.5 if that number exists in Commander.
I always say the thing of you're allowed a huge number of tutors depending on how silly your commander is until you get to saying it's a CDH level deck. Like, you can have all the tutors in the world if your commander is, I don't know, Yargle. And you play all the black tutors, that's fine. You got a 9/3 vanilla creature for a commander, that's fine.
Right.
Dan, question: What is from your side as a judge? So now I see that I think there's for everyone a special decision or just a main goal if you go into an event. Some play competitive events, some come there to play casual Commander, some come there to meet artists and meet the community as the main part. And for you, focused on the most time I know you, also, so we figured out also that we know each other longer than we know us in person because you're the red-haired judge. So I met you just 5 years before we already in person met. But for me, it was every time like if I met you on a smaller event or a bigger event, like before we get known each other in person. For me, it was every time there was something special if I saw that judge community, because I think the judge community is like, so you have the commander players, you have the competitive, what I said before, but I think that the judge community, it feels like every time for me, this is not just only the judge, this is like a community that is here to care about that everyone has fun. And I think that is very honest, but what do you think? Or just also that brings me to a question to you as well. What was your magic moment on an event as a judge, maybe? So I think this is also something I would not want to know.
Yeah, so this is something that I would have not guessed before I experienced it, but being at an event as a judge is generally it's work, right? You're there working for the tournament organizer. You're there to facilitate events, to get people playing and enjoying the game and all of that. But I would not have expected to enjoy it more than actually playing the game myself. Because why would you enjoy working there rather when you could also just be there to play a game, right? But for me, it's as you say, the judge community kind of feels like this big international family. You keep going to these events, you keep meeting some of the same faces, but some new people every time, and it's just this this more close knit group where some people know each other, but others are also like taken into the fold because mentoring is such a big part of judging, right? So if somebody is new to big events, you immediately take them in, you show them how things are done, because to be honest, the step from your local FNM or your local RCQ or whatever to a regional championship or to a MagicCon, that's an entirely different world from the judging experience of it. And helping these people find themselves and find the joy, just like we as judges help players having a more enjoyable experience and explaining things that's kind of just that runs in a judge's blood, basically. And that's what makes it so much fun. And sure, sometimes I go to an event because I think, hey, there is a regional championship in Naples. I've wanted to go to Naples for a really long time. Let's see if we can go judge that event. Or the first time I went to Vegas, like Vegas is kind of the Magic destination. And going to a big like headlining event in Vegas has been a dream of mine for a long time. But in the end, you spend most of the time in some convention center or an airport, and it's about the people you spend the time with. And if I am there as a player, I might have some great games. I might have 9 rounds where I'm playing people who are not here to have a good time. But if I'm judging, I know everyone I'm dealing with is here to have fun and to have other people help other people have fun. And that's kind of what makes the magic for me.
Also, I think that brings me to my, I would say, magic moment. So I thought about that a long time. But first, I would say Barcelona last year was absolutely a blast. So it was for me first time on a MagicCon, meeting so many great people, sitting with Johannes Voss on a table to playing Magic. And then he introduced me, yeah, these are the other players. He had, hey, I'm Brian. And I realized, oh, this is Brian Kibler. Okay, cool. And but for me, the magic moment goes back to my very first event that I go to after leaving that only tabletop Magic playing at home with friends. And there was a local tournament. It is a small, very small con. It was 20, 30 players. We had it every half year. It's in Kaiserslautern. It's southwestern part of Germany. And I was there with my extended deck, and I said, yeah, this is my first time going to a tournament. I went 0-6, but the point was that I had a lot of fun. And for me, it was also the first time, so it was a half year after the beginning of Magic, playing Magic. And then one of my old friends introduced me that time. So he came to me and said, hey, I'm Steve. If you want, I can share with you a few things about your deck that I would change, that you could getting a little bit better in that game. And it was something completely new for me, because before I'm just were in a few sports teams, community teams, and so on. But this was a magic moment for me, because there was someone I don't know and taking the time to explain me what I can do better to have more fun with the game. And that was not, and Steve was the first one, but over the years, so many people that came to me and explained me something as well. I explained a lot of people. I had a local store for 2 years, explaining a lot of new players, hey, how the game works, not only just for Magic, also for Yu-Gi-Oh, for Pokemon, and so on. And for me, it was all, every time that magic moment, and that's why I'm traveling for, so my main reason is just meeting people again. So this is something I love. And if I'm coming, for example, I met Steve 2 years or 1.5 years ago in Frankfurt on a JK event. After 2 years, we didn't see each other. I said, hey, Steve, you're here. And it was like playing with him again, like 20 years before. And this is, that stays for me as one of that magic moments, because then I realized that the TCG community is always a connecting point for me between anywhere in the world. I can play Magic anywhere in the world. I met someone. So you don't need to talk about the same language. As well as the first time I was in Tokyo, and I looking for a store that is English spoken, and I realized the owner of the store was originally Kai's boss, Heiko, and he originally grew up 20 miles away from me. Originally, so I met him in Tokyo as well, and I met also Kai in Tokyo first time. And this is something that makes a connection all over the years, and so every event or every travel is connected for me, or the most of the travels are connected to me with TCGs, because if you go into a TCG store anywhere in the world, you met someone who has the same interest in and the chemicals that fit together to have a great time, and this is something that I experience a lot. So to cut my voice as an ongoing talk again, Kai, what was your magic moment on an event?
Oh gosh, like
So you are also I think you are also artist, and I think what you told me the last times we met each other, that now being on and having a booth is something. But tell us your story.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of events. I think that the first major events. I think we gotta cut the Friday Night Magics, right? But I guess like in terms of large events, I think the first large event I attended was in 2013. It was a GP Strasbourg. This was my first competitive, event. It had like 2,000 something players in it, and obviously it was my first event, so I did terribly in the main event. I dropped out early and played a couple of side events, as you're supposed to. And and since then I've been at most big GPs in either the Central European locations or the ones in Japan, especially like Tokyo and like the Kyoto region. And I think the one event that will probably always stick out, and that's coming from like more like a competitive mindset, is GP Kyoto in 2015, because that's the one that happened 2 months after I moved to Japan. I didn't know many people back then. Like I knew like a couple faces. I knew a few stores here and there, but I wasn't really in the Japanese community as much as most other Japanese players, right? But I attended that GP as a half Japanese, like I'm half Japanese, half German, and I attended GP, and I was so focused, like because I didn't talk to many people at the event. I was so focused on the game itself that I don't know, like I miraculously ended up top 8ing that GP, and with a terrific record of like 13-2, only 2 losses after 15 rounds with my Storm deck, and I was basically all like focused on my deck and my deck only. And maybe you can count it as like a win and a loss at the same time. It was great to qualify for the Pro Tour for the first time, where I got crushed terribly in Vancouver. So that happened. That was pretty cool, but I regret being only in my zone, if I mean, like I didn't connect with anyone particular, and also kind of avoided small talk whenever I could, because I just wanted to basically focus on games and games only. Like now looking back after almost 10 years, I would have probably completely changed. I would have done everything differently probably in terms of event experience, but back then it worked, and but back then I also had like different ambitions, I think, for a game of Magic. Like now I play stupid Phage decks and stuff like that. It's kind of the opposite of a competitive Storm deck back then. So
Yeah, just go on.
Oh no, and I just wanted to add that like a year ago I started to completely change the way how I attend events. So I've started to paint art as a Magic player to other MTG players, and I've started to make tokens, which people can use at events. And like last year, I had the honor of having a booth at the Eternal Weekend in Prague, Czech Republic, and where people could basically just show up, get their playmats, tokens, talk to me, because I also stream Magic, Modern, and Legacy mostly on Twitch. And I also started a direct challenge booth where people can directly challenge me at my booth, and if they beat me, they get shiny tokens and whatnot. And if they get beaten, then they still get something. But like, instead of joining the main event where you can potentially, like drop out, like 3-3 drop or something. I decided to be there with my booth and still play a lot of Magic, but yeah, like like my booth started to be like something like a side event of some sort where people can always show up, talk about Magic, play against me, pick up some tokens if they want, and have a good time, regardless of the outcome of the main event. So
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that perspective shift. Like if you're used to going to events as a player and then going as an artist, as a content creator, as a judge, that as a vendor, that's just such a different experience and just changes your perspective and I guess your expectations for the event a lot more. Like I remember when I used to go to competitive events as a player. I never really, I don't think I ever made day 2 of a GP or Magic Fest main event. But I remember that a lot of the prep talk with other groups that I traveled with were about um, how can you spend as little as possible on your hotel, on your flight, on your train, whatever, so you have as much money as possible to spend at the event to, I don't know, grind side event drafts or buy stuff from artists and stuff like that. And when I started going there as a judge, of course, that kind of changed because you don't really have a lot of time to spend money at the event. You're kind of there to make the experience better for people who already spent their money at the event. But you also come out of it with some money, and that kind of alleviates some of the stress of trying to grind out your travel and accommodation. And actually, at this point, shout out to Pastimes who do the staffing for MagicCons for giving us nice bonuses for hotel stays, because that makes my experience as a judge so much more comfortable, knowing I can just stay in a nearby hotel, will be able to afford it, and actually have a full night's rest when I get on the tournament floor in the morning. And yeah, that perspective shift and change of expectations is something that I love to see from every perspective, really.
That brings me directly to Ryan, and also we just introduced the next part of this episode about, is there any tricks, life hacks, preparations, mainly in one sentence, in the past? Yeah, let's grab a bag and let's go. Bad idea. Ryan, what are you doing for preparation for event? What is your doings, your tricks, tell us your secrets about that you have a better time on event.
Well, number 1, shave
Right,
the head.
right,
Number
yeah.
2, trim the mustache. Once you got that done, then you're ready to go. I wrote 5 quick little notes here. So my advice would be, if you're going, go with friends. I mean, it is so helpful to have someone to hold your bag while you run to the bathroom, or someone to watch your back, or someone to cry to when you get hit with the bad beat and you're knocked out or whatever. This is so much more fun when you're there with somebody that you know. It's more practical. You get to split a room. Usually it's cheaper, and you go stand in line over here and get the French fries. I'll go get us the milkshakes from this guy, and we'll team them up and have a better meal. So much better experience if you're there with at least one other friend. So do that if you can. Advice number 2: don't overpack. Don't bring every commander deck and every sideboard card and every variation of deck thinking that you're going to play 999 games, because you're not gonna. Bring like your 2 or 3 favorite. Bring maybe some cards to get signed by celebrities or artists or whoever, and bring like a little scrapbook and collect signatures that way or something. But you really don't want to be carrying a huge heavy bag through the tournament hall or through the convention center all day. You're just going to wear yourself out and be miserable. So keep it light. Go fast, stay mobile, and pack minimal, right? Just what you need. Tip number 3: have a plan, but be flexible, right? Like I know what events I want to hit, I know what panels I want to sit in on for sure. But if someone wants to grab me and say, hey, we're going to do a quick Commander game, can you jump in with us? Or, ooh, there's an event firing in 10 minutes and I want to get a few more prize tickets so I can get that cool thing off the prize wall. I didn't know they were going to have that here, right? Leave yourself the opportunity to jump on those really cool things that you don't see coming. But you also don't want to show up to an event and be like, now what? Because the clock is ticking and you probably paid a lot and moved mountains to get there, and you don't want to really waste your time either. So strike that balance, come with your plan, but remain flexible. Number 4, kind of related to that, budget your money and your time, right? Because you can't go to every panel. You can't stand in every line to meet every cosplayer. You got to know where you're going to get the most value out of your time being spent. And your job at this convention is to turn your money into memories, right? You're looking to buy cards that you can't get anywhere else, or artist prints that really show off your favorite artwork, or entering in an event to win prize wall tickets so you can get some really cool, one of those oversized poster cards or something. So that's the kind of stuff that you're looking to do. Don't just spend, your hard-earned dollars on some little flimsy hat that has the con logo on it that you're gonna never wear again or something. I don't know. I try to avoid like trinkets and stuff, and really try to collect those memories that you can't get anywhere else. And then the last piece of advice: enjoy the location too, right? If you're in a new city, you've never been there, set aside a few hours to take a walk around. Go see a museum, check out the local parks. Even if you just experience the food, go to a restaurant, have a sit down meal outside of the convention center, because usually the food there not very good, the lines are long, the prices are high. But if you can step away from that even for just 30 minutes to an hour and tell your friends, hey, meet me at this cool high rated place that is just up the street, and there's going to be no lines or anything there because everyone's here at the convention, so we can get in and out. We can even play at the table while they're bringing us our food, and we can just, enjoy a part of Philadelphia or Las Vegas, see a show or something, right? There's so much other stuff that these cities and venues have to offer, and I think a lot of people get hung up on, I'm going to go, I'm going to play in my event, and then I'm going to crash at the hotel, I'm going to wake up and do it all over again. You could fit in just a little taste, a little slice of life from wherever you are in your travel. You're going to have so much more to look back on and remember about that trip. So those are my top 5. I'm happy to open the floor to anyone else to see what you guys have to say.
I mean, that was so well scripted. I don't know if there's like, I don't know if there's anything we can add to that. Yeah.
I would say if you just done the same. Yeah, just go on.
If you're going to event, definitely do something that's more unique there. Like, for example, we love chaos drafting that we don't ever tend to do our LGSs. Like, do something that you can't ever do. Which also brings me on to a small point that might make Dan's head hurt. We were in a chaos draft once, and the guy, instead of passing past his pool that he drafted to the left,
which we then drafted his pool before he realized that, and it took.
This was the nearby judge, the floor judge, and the head judge all had to come over to try and resolve this.
It was everyone donated cards back, so they had a pool, and we still had a good time. But it was one of those moments of, how do we fix this? Because this is crazy.
Well, exactly what Ryan was saying is like that was money to memories. Like you couldn't pay for that.
That's it. Like Ryan covered a lot of the things that I'd written down already of just preparing for it, being flexible. But one thing I'd say as well is budget before you go and make sure that you can afford the trip, because you've got to think of not just the tickets for the event, the hotel, the travel, food whilst you're there. If it's going to put you in a difficult position financially to go there, wait till the next one, save up for it, make it a goal to go there. Don't put yourself in like a hardship to go to an event, because as cool as they are, you need to look after yourself first.
And they're not going anywhere. Like,
no, we're gonna get there's this, especially in America, you get a lot more than we do. We kind of get a couple outlets, but then they are further apart for you, so I suppose it balances out more.
Texas is the size of Europe. They do have quite a few distance to go.
When you were saying you traveled 6 hours, that was a short drive for you. You could get to our entire country in 6 hours. So I was like,
yeah, that is definitely one of the things that I experienced when I started traveling to the US for events, that 100 miles is a long distance in Europe. On the other hand, if you're experiencing part of the locations and the history of the places, for a lot of them, you start realizing that 100 years is a long time in the US.
I was waiting for someone to bring that up. That's a classic
Yeah.
yardstick. Yeah, that's
yeah.
The
Um,
bank in our city is older than the US.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we live in quite a nice old place.
Dan, anything you would prepare or do? So you saw it from this. So what I learned from you was, for example, if you just register for an event, there is a time earlier than the event where you can register. Sometimes you can register on a Thursday and pick up your bag and everything else, because not many people know that most times, for example, the event going from Friday to Sunday, that the pre-registration is already open on Thursdays or early Friday. Anything
yeah,
else, Dan?
definitely. If you're make yourself familiar with the schedule of your event, and don't just show up without a clue, because you're going to miss things that you were looking forward to, and it's gonna suck. Because a lot of other things, other options that you were looking at, might already be sold out when you're on site, and then you just kind of have to find another way to spend your day. That is definitely one thing. Another thing I wanted to piggyback off of what Ryan said about don't overpack. Get familiar with however you can get to events a lot. Like if you're traveling within your country, like you guys said, mostly going to events in the UK. Get familiar with how the airports work, how the train lines work, and especially for me, one thing that I dread is losing luggage. So I always try to avoid getting checked luggage if I'm going through an airport. I try to use only carry-on luggage at all costs, and that's kind of going to my next point. Get familiar with yourself and what you enjoy most at an event, and try to maximize that. If the rest of your group don't enjoy queuing up for artists for days, but you couldn't care less about playing the game outside of your friend group, but you would love to chat to some artists, just do that. Especially the friends of yours who are in their events will be super happy to have someone around who is not on a schedule, who can just grab them a drink between rounds. Especially looking at those control players who take 55 minutes every round. That was also myself. Remember that Sphinx's revelation I talked about earlier? Yeah, I didn't eat a lot at that event. And last thing I would like to get to is especially if you're new to large events, don't be scared of just asking people for help. Like I don't know how many times I've just walked up to people who walk around a hall confused, and they just breathe a sigh of relief when I tell them, "Hey, can I help you somehow?" And that's what judges are here for. That's what tournament staff is here for. That's what convention center staff is here for. If you can't find a restroom, if you can't find the place where your tournament is taking place, don't just scramble and run somewhere. Just ask people, because there are always people there whose job it is to help and who would love to help you out and make sure you get that experience that you spend so much getting to.
So
advice,
you talked
good
about
advice.
that you don't have so much or so many luggage with you, but on the other point, if you're just like a vendor or an artist, you have to carry a lot, and that brings me to Kai. So you just, I'm every time surprised if I saw you on an event and how many stuff you have around you from yourself, but I didn't see. Yeah, you have one luggage. Tell us your secret, Kai. How do you travel with that much stuff that you just carrying with you every time?
Secret
And
Mary
how
Poppins
many
bag.
clothes do you pick up?
Yeah, dude.
normally for an event?
I'm just really good at Tetris. What should I say? Like, you know, that's it really. I figured out a system how I can fit my clothes, all my decks, the whole booth equipment, everything I sell, the playmats and tokens and tablecloth and lights and whatnot, and all in hand luggage carrier. I spent like probably like a whole week figuring out like what the max, literally the max size you're allowed to take with you on an airplane is, and I maxed it out, and you know, that's what I've been doing for this past last year. But my goal is also to go to some events in the US this year. I talked to Star City Games a little bit and NRG Games and a couple of others, and for those events I might have to take an actual suitcase with me. But yeah, I think I generally like your guys' idea of not taking too many things with you. I think because like I had it just recently where I took too many decks with me and I ended up like not playing with half of them, I want to say. But I always wanted to keep the option ready, right? Like, because you never know, and maybe it might come up, and maybe someone wants to play against my power level 3 commander deck, which probably doesn't even exist. But yeah, I had it regardless with me, and it just never happened. And then you end up taking like things for no reason. But one thing like but like there are a couple of things.
Just go on.
There are a couple of things that I always have with me at Magic events, and for example, that's like one of them is my business card, like a card that also shows your socials, because like sometimes you have 5 or 10 minutes to talk to someone if they have the time, you know, maybe they're in between rounds or something, or they are doing like a lunch break or something, then you can definitely talk to them for a little longer. But sometimes people, you know, some of them are in a rush, you know, like maybe they only have like a couple seconds because they're like going to this other event or they have to sign up for something. So like conversations are, they kind of vary so much that I tend to have like some social media QR codes, something with me, you know, that I can just toss over and be like, hey, you know, like it was let's talk, you know, maybe tomorrow or at some other time, or maybe on social media again. So usually I have that with me.
Awesome.
And then I also have how do you even say, like a mouth spray for like if you have bad breath. Because like that's something I don't think it's, especially the Magic event, it's that's like something like kind of easy to forget. But I feel like especially like in the second half of the day, I kind of want to brush my teeth very badly, but I don't have a toothbrush with me, so I tend to have like those like little sprays with me, and usually that does the trick, you know, for the most part.
Small side question. So in the most countries in the world, everybody speaks English and you just can go to an event. But I think there are outside people to go into Japan and traveling first time there, and they're not so familiar with Japanese. Do you have any inside tips and tricks for if you come into Tokyo, where you can play Magic for English-spoken people? Or if you say, hey, what is your your preparation if you, I know you speak Japanese, but if you had someone who asked you, hey, if I go to Tokyo, where's the best place to play, or how can I go into a play group? Is there any possibilities, or should they say, no, just only for traveling?
Well, for stores, like for stores, I think...
Any ideas? It doesn't matter. I want to go to Japan and play Commander, for example.
Yeah, so if you're talking about like large events such as like Magic Fest, GPs, and all that kind of stuff, I think the biggest difference is that the food tastes much better at those locations. Like food is much better. Like, you know, instead of hot dogs and burgers and fries, you get like, I don't know, like hot bowls of like rice and fish or beef or whatever it is. But like, it's like so much nicer. That's the good thing.
I'm not convinced that that's better. I'm not convinced that that's better. No.
Says the country with spray on cheese.
I'm telling you, like Japanese are so picky in terms of like food, or maybe like the food quality is just like so high. And you know, don't get me wrong, there you get those hot dogs, right? Because like especially in Japan, there are the most foreign tourists, or the most like foreign visitors are from Australia, or from Singapore. So like you definitely get your burgers and hot dogs and whatnot, but like the food variety is just like is absurd, really. It's like this whole like outside area where there are like at least 10 options or so available. But the significant downside of Japanese events is that you have to queue in line for every single thing, and the lines are long, like much longer than in Europe or in the States, I think, because Japanese are used to wait for a long time to get something good, decent, yummy, anything. And it's like a cultural thing maybe at this point, but like I'm too impatient, I gotta tell you. Like I usually get my stuff somewhere else, because like like I'm not ready to I don't know, like to queue in line for like almost like an hour to get my lunch, you know.
I remember
So-
there was a GP in Japan once that had a massage booth in the judge room.
Oh yeah, that was good. Did you try that out? Because I did.
I wasn't there, but
it was good. It was
I
good.
just saw other judges posting about it, and it was like, I need to go. I need to be there right now.
Yeah, dude. They had like they had so I think like a lot of these like nice add-ons, or like fringe ideas maybe come like mostly from Japan, where they had like a tatami room once, where you can, you know, take your shoes off and just sit on the ground, basically, maybe play a couple of games on those tatami mats. And the massage thing was incredible, because like you could book like 10 or 15 minutes, maybe up to 30 minutes maybe of a massage session between rounds, or some vendors took it, or some artists. And it was also like a nice time to not talk to anyone. It was like basically absolute silence, and silence is sometimes exactly what you need. You know?
That's a big difference. In Japan, you get a massage and you get special silent rooms. In the States, there is just like that I think that big size of a lot of people. I think the biggest events were already in the States. And in Europe, we are happy if we get in tea or coffee. So
And biscuits.
Yeah, it's not the same without the biscuits.
Eat the biscuits.
So
So,
the one
then
exception
we-
is the one exception is Italy, because in Italy, if there is now no coffee within reach, they will not do an event there. I can promise you that. I've been to a bunch of events in Italy. Coffee's always there.
So we're running out of time, but I'm just want to give it over to Alex and Martin about, do you have any more tips before I will bring my 2 tips to the end, and then anything more that you have on your list? How you prepare
well,
events?
We got quite a lot of crossover with some already spoken, like traveling with friends
Yeah.
makes it more fun and makes it cheaper. Book early as well. You don't like getting the hotel early, so you can usually get a lower price in a better location.
At the Command Fest that we're going to in Birmingham, we literally booked that whilst we were in Barcelona on a different holiday.
Yeah, we literally saw the dates get announced and went, right, need to do it right now.
Yeah.
So-
And we did. We got a great place.
It was good.
But just
Look after yourself in terms of like
oh god,
feed
yeah.
yourself, stay hydrated, stay clean and wash yourself.
Yeah,
Don't forget your personal self-care,
Yeah.
because it's easy to run out of time for
And
things.
don't just eat junk food. Don't just eat the Haribo and the sugary stuff. Have an apple. It'll do you wonders.
It's just like make sure you've always got snacks and things, because like as you mentioned, it can take a long time between rounds, and queuing up for an actual meal can take hours. So
Yes.
get a nice little bag of goodies to keep you busy.
Exactly, yes. Self-care would be
Yeah.
our good tip.
That is also on my list, because I think fruit is something that is always underrated for events. I have every time banana with me. I have an apple with me normally. Also, nuts is very great. I think nuts is a perfect fit also for sharing. I think also, if you have the option, and if you're traveling to an event for a weekend, expand your travel. So for example, if the event's starting on Friday, going earlier there. So for example, my future wife and I will be 2 days earlier in Amsterdam. to enjoying the city. So combine that with your trip. So I think it's you're already going there for the city, and also a good fit could be if you're traveling with friends, and the older aged people, or just they are just already building a family. It is also a great experience for younger people. They want to play on a tournament. So for example, one of my best friends, who met him in Amsterdam as well, and he's going there with his oldest daughter. She's 12, and she will playing also modern at that event, and for her it's the first big event. So share your experience also, not only with your friends that are already playing Magic, bring new people to it, people that are getting interested, to just to family, share it with everyone, expand the time in the city if you have the option to. And what Ryan already said, get the experience for the city itself. So learn something about the culture, learn something about, and being respectful. I think one of the things that I learned after I traveled outside of Europe is prepare for every country you're traveling to about the rules and the gentleman agreement, I would say, about to don't be. So in some countries, it's fine to shake hands. In some country, you're doing a bow for introducing someone, or just say thank you. Being respectful, I think, is also very important. And what Dan already said, ask people, ask everything around. That is one of the great things about TCG communities all over, between Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic, anything, Force of Will, TCG. I met so many great people. They helped me to enjoy the TCGs. And that brings me to the final words, where I want to start with Ryan. Ryan, so firstly, thank you for being today here with us. Where can we find you?
Oh, thanks for having me once again. I hope I did my country proud and represented all the great events coast to coast here in America, where we do things correctly all the time. You can find my videos are on YouTube. It's called Magic Arcanum. I talk about the stories behind the cards, and that can be the lore and the ongoing narrative that ties all of Magic together. Or it can be recounting great events or experiences that I've had just playing the game, doing whatever. So a little bit of everything over there on Magic Arcanum.
Also, you're fixing storylines in Call of Manor, for example.
That was one of my most recent videos. All right, I rewrote the story for Murders at Karlov Manor, and that's been getting some interesting feedback from the community. Some people don't like it when you mess with their story, but some people thought that I had some interesting twists to it. So if you're curious about what could have been with the murders at Karlov Manor, go check out my latest video on the channel right now.
Thank you, Ryan. So I will give it over to Martin and Alex. Where can we find you, and what are you doing at the moment for your channel?
So we are Affinity for Commander. We primarily do deck upgrades, looking at powerful legends, how to build them, and gameplay videos of 4-way games of Commander, varying from out-the-box precons with a few high power level gameplays as well.
And you can find us at Affinity for Commander on YouTube, at For Commander on Twitter or X. And I think that's it. It's hard to remember what's going on.
Yeah, that's it.
I have one more. I have one more addition question. I also will give it back to Ryan after you answered it. What will be the next event you're traveling to?
So we're going to Command Fest Birmingham next month.
Yeah, brought to by the fabulous Axion now.
So it's only a couple hours travel for us, so it's relatively small compared to what's we go to. But it's one we've been to in the past. It's one where we've got friends and we're going to meet them there.
Yes.
We know people are going to be waiting for us, and we're going to wait for them. So it's quite nice.
It's also the first time at an event where we're going as content creators, so that'll actually be really nice.
The official content creators panel, rather than just people wearing T-shirts saying "Watch
Cool.
us."
Yes.
Ryan, so I give it the ball back to you, because I think in an episode of events we have to talk where we go next.
Yeah, well, last year I kind of overwent my budget on travel for events. So I think this year I'm going to stick a little closer to home. And one of my local game stores does an event called Commander Sealed, where you play Commander, but you start with like 30 different booster packs, and you get to just build your deck out of this enormous sealed pool. and you play against people for like 2 straight days. That's coming up a little bit later in the year. I haven't done this one yet, but since it's local and I can go and enjoy something that I haven't found that really anywhere else yet, so I'm excited to try out that the Commander Sealed event here in Rochester, New York. But that's coming up a couple months down the road.
Okay. Dan, what's your next big event, and where can we find you?
So, actually, I'm going to be focusing more of like the immediate next months on local events. My next big event is probably going to be MagicCon Amsterdam in June. And yeah, in the meantime, I'm probably mostly focusing my free time on the International Judge Program, where I'm currently one of the program leads. So if you're interested in finding out how to become a judge anywhere that is not the United States or Canada, because they got Judge Foundry over there, then check out internationaljudgeprogram.org, and you can find out how to become a judge there.
Great. So, Kai, so where can we find you? What is your next event where you're traveling to?
So I just came back from an event called the Four Seasons Bologna in Italy. It had like a couple of hundred people for all the formats, be it like Vintage, Modern, Legacy, Commander, and so on. I don't know exactly what the next one's gonna be. I think it's one of the upcoming events is the Impact Returns event in Spain. That's like mostly Legacy and Modern. I'm also going to Amsterdam and a couple of other like medium-sized events here in Europe. I'm really stoked. And yeah, you can find me under Savatarix on all social media channels. And I also stream Modern and Legacy twice a week. In fact, I just streamed my last stream like 3-4 hours ago. So you can definitely check it out in the bots. We played some crazy Legacy Reanimator nonsense. So yeah.
I will
Did
close
it
this
have
up.
Phage in it?
It didn't. I mean, I was like so close to
yeah.
putting Phage in my Reanimator deck, but then Twitch chat didn't let me. So you know.
You have to play pre-modern. Pre-modern Phage is allowed, and it's an okay card.
Cool.
Yeah, I will close it up. I will be traveling. Next bigger event is also Amsterdam for me. Super excited to be there, mainly as a player. Also showing my future wife more about bring her more to Magic Gathering, because she's a big Doctor Who fan, and Doctor Who decks was a great introduction. Also building now, waiting for the secret lair that I can start building my Doctor Who 5-color commander deck, where I had a great idea because of I like it to give decks a storyline. And the Doctor Who deck will have artifacts from all universes, like the One Ring, and like something from the Fallout universe, something from every universe that could fit in to give the deck a storyline about the 14th Doctor, to bring all Doctors together. Yeah, giving her that deck and said, hey, let's go. She will say, no, I don't want to, but I want to see what you're doing. That will be a great experience. And you also can find me just on TCG Home, so where Kai and I'm doing also videos. So you can also find Dan on the Discord. And secondly, I'm also doing restarting doing content on my YouTube channel called Omega Zabatsu, where I'm talking about financials of TCGs. What cards just to pick up early up, why some cards are high in price, that most of the reserve list is a scam, and context like that. What I said before, I'm super happy about that community, and also the idea of the trading card lobby. What is also how the TCGs work together, bring people together, having fun. And for me, it was a very fun episode, and I want to thank you to all of you guys being here, and can't wait for the next episode. And we will announce it soon on TCG Home who will be the guests. Thank you, Alex Martin. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kai. And see you next time. Bye.
Yo.
Bye.
and